Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So I'll read 9, 8, 1 through 10, and we'll chant 11 together. Shishaka Vacha Moito Rohita Sutas Tampa Tasmad Vinirmita Tampa Puis Devoto Vijaya Yaskachat Najam. Shukadev Goswami continued. The son of Rohita was Harita, and Harita's son was Champa, who constructed the town of Champapuri. The son of Champa was Sudeva, and his son was Vijaya. Text 2. Varukas tatu sutas tasman vrikas tasyapi bahuka soribir srita raja sabayo vanam avishat. The son of Vijaya was Baruka. Baruka's son was Vriksha, and Vriksha's son was Bahuka. The enemies of King Bahuka took away all his possessions, and therefore the king entered the order of Vanaprastha and went to the forest with his wife. 3. Vidam tam panchatam praptam mahishyanu harishati orvena shanatatmanam sajavantam nivartita.
I was thinking that can you put your screen on?
If you want, you have to plug it into the...
No, we can do it without it also.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for the interruption in the Bhagavatam class. We don't have Chrome here.
I didn't have it open.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Can I stand to read chapter?
off my phone.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
So now, whatever you show this,
Okay.
they can see.
Bahuka died when he was old, and one of his wives wanted to die with him, following the sati rite. At that time, however, Purva Muni, knowing her to be pregnant, forbade her to die. Ajasaya yasyai sapatnibir garodatan dasa sahasatena vasijata sagarako mahayasha sagas chakravartyasi sagaro yatsutakrita. Knowing that she was pregnant, the co-wives of the wife of Bahuka conspired to give her poison with her food, but it did not act. Instead, the son was born along with the poison. Therefore, it became famous as Sagara, one who was born with poison. Sagara later became the emperor. The place known as Ganga Sagara was excavated by his sons. Text 5 and 6. Yes. Tala Jangan Yavanam Chakan Hayaya Bharan Navadid Kuruvakena Shakre Vikrita Eshina Undan Shamshu Daran Kamshin Ukta Kesharda Munditan Antar Vasaya Vasasa Kamchid Abahir Abaso Paran. Sagar Maharaj, following the order of his spiritual master, Orva, did not kill the uncivilized men like the Talagangas, Yavanas, Shakas, Hayas, and Bhargavas. Instead, some of them he made dress awkwardly, some of them he shaved clean but allowed to wear mustaches, some of them he left wearing loose hair, some of them he half-shaved, and some of them he left without underwear, and some without external garments. Thus these different clans were made to dress differently, but King Sagara did not kill them. Sasvamedar Agyatata Saraveda Shuratmakam Harvo Padishta Yogena Harim Atmanam Ishvaram Tasposhistim Ashun Yagye Saharashvam Puran Tara. Following the instructions of the great sage Orva, Sagar Maharaj performed Ashvamedha sacrifices and thus satisfied the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Controller, the Super Soul of all learned scholars and the knower of all Vedic knowledge, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Indra, the King of Heaven, stole the horse meant to be offered for sacrifice. So this isn't the first horse-stealing Leela. We had one of the word Indra back in the 4th canto. Sumatyas Tanaya Dripta Pitur Adesha Karena Hayam Andesha Manaste Samantan Yakayan Mahim. King Sagar had 2 wives, Sumati and Keshini. The sons of Sumati were very proud of their prowess and influence, following the order of their father, searched for the lost horse. While doing so, they dug into the earth very extensively. Text 9 and 10. Prag uticham dishi hayam adrishu kapilantike esha aji parashora aste miletalochana hayyatam anyatam papa iti shasti sahasrina buddha yudha abhiyayur punni mesha tadamuni. Thereafter, in the northeastern direction, they saw the horse near the ashram of Kapila Muni. Here is the man who stole the horse, they said. He is staying there with closed eyes. Certainly he is very sinful. Kill him, kill him. Shouting like this, the sons of Sagara, 60,000 altogether, raised their weapons. When they approached the sage opened his eyes. So this is text 11, so we chant it together. We go through the words. Spasarina Agnina
Sariragna
Tavat Mahendra Vidachetasa Mahat Vikramahata Asmasat Abhavan Shanat Svasharinagnina Tavan
Sasarira Agnina Tavat
Mahendra Ritachetasa Mahadvyati Kramahata Asmasad Abhavan Kshanat Spashariragnina Tavan Mahendra Rita Chetasa Mahadvyati Kramahata Asmasada Bhavan Kshana Spasharinagnina Tavan Mahendra Rita Chetasa Mahadvyati Krama Hata
Mahadvikramahata
Asmasad Abhavan Shakshana.
Vasasaravavanshana Shasariyagnatavan
Sharinaginathava
Mahendraritachetasha
Mahendravritachedasa
Mayatabayatikramahatha
Mahadatikramahata
Masmashat Abhavanshana
Asmasad Abhavan Shana.
Sasariyagnatavan
Mahendra Kachita Saha
Mahendravritachedasa
Mahadda Vida Vyatikramanata
Mahadvikramahata
Basma Sada Bhavan Sanat
Basmasaravavanshana
Swasarilaginatavan
Sasariyagnatavan
Mahandra Hatarasitasa
Mahendravritachedasa
Mahadyatikramahata
Mahadvikramahata
Vasmashada Bhavansana
Basmasaravavanshana.
Very good. Yeah. Sasarya Agnina.
Sasariyagnina
By the fire emanating from their own bodies.
by the fire emitting from their own bodies.
Tavad.
Tavat
Immediately.
immediately.
Mahendra.
Mahendra
By the tricks of Indra,
with the tricks of Indra,
the king of heaven.
the king of heaven,
Ritachedasa.
with the Chetasha,
Their consciousness having them taken away.
their consciousness having been taken away.
Mahat.
Mahat,
A great personality.
a great personality,
Vitikramahata.
Vitikramahata,
Defeated by the fault of insulting.
defeated by the fault of insulting,
Asmasa.
Basmasa,
Turned to ashes.
turned to ashes,
Abhavan.
Abhavan
Became.
became,
Shana.
Shana
Immediately.
immediately.
Translation. By the influence of Indra, the king of heaven.
I should repeat it.
Yeah, you can read it. The sons of Sagra had lost their intelligence
Had lost their intelligence
and disrespected a great personality.
and disrespected a great personality.
Consequently,
Consequently,
fire emanated
fire emanated
from their own bodies,
from their own bodies,
and they were immediately burned to ashes.
and they are immediately burnt to ashes.
Support by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Oh, key. The material body is a combination of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There's already fire within the body. And our practical experience is that the heat of this fire sometimes increases and sometimes decreases. Sometimes we have a fever and our body gets extra hot. The fire within the bodies of the sons of Sagar Maharaj became so much hotter that all of them burned to ashes. The fire's increased heat was due to their misbehavior toward the great personality. Such misbehavior is called Mahad Vitikrama. They were killed by the fire of their own bodies because of insulting a great personality. Magana Tirandasya Vinandashlakaya Shishuntamena Tasmai Sridharena Namam Shridaya Krishna Kasaya Relation Bhaktivedanta Swami. Stay Saraswati Devi Gauravanda Chari Nirvasi Shri Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Shri Nitai Sachi Ki
Jai.
Ki Lord Mandir. Kripa I took some notes on this, which I will bring up on the screen here. Let's see, documents.
No, you can cancel the screen sharing also if you want.
Yeah. Okay, what can we say? This is a case of instant karma. They committed a big offense and immediately they were burned to ashes. So we know according to the law of karma, we do good things happen to us. We do bad things happen to us. So these sons of Sagar, they're on a mission to find the horse that was lost, and to punish the person who stole the horse. But they didn't have the vision to see that Indra was the person who stole the horse. So they're looking up all over the earth for the horse and the person who stole it. So they found the horse near Kapila Muni's ashram. So Kapila is an incarnation of the personality of Godhead, or Kapila Dev. But of course most people, they don't actually know, they can't recognize the incarnations of God. Only the very most highly elevated bhaktas actually understand who God is. Even when Krishna was personally present, very few people actually understood he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Pandavas and the Yadus. But many people didn't understand. So it's not a surprise that the sons of Sagar didn't recognize Kapila Muni as an incarnation of God, but at least they could have recognized him as a yogi, right? So why would a yogi steal a horse for sacrifice? Right? Doesn't make any sense. If you saw a yogi, would you think he stole your horse? I mean, so these people were really overcome with a mode of passion. They were on a mission. They wanted to find that horse and the person who stole it. And then, so they had no reason to actually accuse Kapila, who was in meditation, of stealing this horse. But because they were overcome with the modes of material nature, they made this very foolish mistake of accusing Kapila of stealing the horse, and on top of that, deciding that they were going to kill him for stealing the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big offense. Here it's called Mahadviktikrama. So if you do a search on Viktikrama, there's another offense which is sort of along these lines that Prabhupada talks about. It's called Maryada Viktikrama. So even if you instruct somebody in the spiritual science in the presence of your guru or somebody who's more advanced than you, that's actually an aparad. And for that aparad, you can lose your duration of life, you can lose your opulence, you can lose your fame, your piety, and all the blessings of the world. So even if you just insult a pure spiritual person by instructing someone in their presence, you can get these negative results. What to speak of if you blaspheme them, or in this case, they try to kill the Kapila Dev. So it was a really big offense, and therefore the reaction was immediate. And their bodies burned to ashes. So Prabhupada gives a reasonable explanation for the phenomenon of spontaneous human combustion based on Sankhya philosophy. So this is actually, you can do a search on Wikipedia for spontaneous human combustion, and it's something that's studied by the parapsychologists. Because in human history, there are different cases of people suddenly burning up. And the scientists don't believe that such a thing's actually possible, because they don't know how it could happen. But Srila Prabhupada explains how it can happen because we already have fire in the body. And the body is composed of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and they're in a delicate balance. And if the fire increases to a great extent, it can ignite the rest of the body. So, and that's the standard of this Vedic knowledge. You can actually explain so many things that modern science can't explain. The Vedic knowledge can explain. There's a phenomenon, another phenomenon called near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, where somebody they have like a heart attack and they go unconscious, their heart stopped, and the doctors are trying to resuscitate them, but they're floating above their body, and they can see the doctors trying to resuscitate them. And there's one professor of cardiology. He had taught heart surgery, and he had patients reporting these experiences, and he thought it was completely imaginary because science can't explain it. So he decided to research it. He divided his patients into two categories. One had these experiences and one didn't. And then he interviewed them. He asked them how the resuscitation was performed. And the people who had these experiences, they described the major things that were done in the resuscitation. Sometimes they give them some drugs, sometimes they use a defibrillator, sometimes they do different things. They do the, push on their chest. So the people who had these experiences, they described them accurately. They got all the major things done that was to bring about the resuscitation. And the people who didn't have these experiences, they said things that were done that weren't done, they got things in the wrong order, they couldn't actually explain what was going on. So after studying many patients, he concluded that maybe the consciousness that separates from the body is the soul, which is described by different religious traditions. So we have one magazine called Origins. It only had one issue back in 1984, and this story of Dr. Sabin and his study was there. Then in that magazine it also talks about Ian Stevenson, who was a professor of psychiatry, and he studied children who remembered the lives of people who lived before they did. He studied 3,000 children who remembered lives of someone else, and he would ask them many questions, and then he would take them to the place where that person lived, and they would be able to recognize people in the family, and they would recognize how the house was remodeled since they lived there, and they would know different family secrets that nobody knew. And then after like 30 years of research, he concluded that an intelligent person could accept the reality of reincarnation based on his research. So that modern science, that things that they can't explain, they just say, it doesn't happen, it doesn't exist. Of course, it's all the stories about it are made up. But Vedic knowledge can explain many things that modern science cannot explain. So there's one famous devotee scientist, his name was Sadhaputta Prabhu. He wrote different books on science and Krishna consciousness. If you like that, you can look him up online. There's a website dedicated to his stuff. And one devotee asked him, there's so many far out supernatural things in the Vedic literature, how can you as a scientist accept them? And he said that because the Vedic literature can explain so many things that science has no explanation for, in a systematic way, the Vedic literature can explain them all. It can explain ghosts, it can explain past life memories, it can explain out-of-body experiences, it can explain astral projection, it can explain so many things. Demigod worship of the Supreme Lord, so many things. So, what else was I going to say? So yeah, this is one of many, many pastimes in the Bhagavatam that talks about people who commit offenses and have to suffer because they offended a great personality. There's many, many stories. I will tell all the ones I can think of, and you can tell me some more. Daksha is a big one, back in the 4th canto. He offends Lord Shiva, and as a result, he has his head cut off and replaced with the head of a goat. It's a great insult. He's a Prajapati, creator of many different species of life. He's given the head of a goat. Then there's the story of Gajendra, the elephant. In his previous life, he was King Indradyumna, and he offended a sage. He was in meditation, and the sage Agastya came, and he didn't properly respect him, so Agastya Krishna to become an elephant. And then there was the crocodile that was attacking Gajendra. He also was a king, and he was a sage who was swimming in the water, and he grabbed him by the legs and teased him, Devala Rishi. So he was cursed to become a crocodile. And then we have the story of in the 9th canto, just recently, Maharaj Ambarish. He was attacked by Durvasa Muni with a fire-breathing, entity, and he was chastised by the Sudarshan Chakra. He was chased all over the universe by the Sudarshan Chakra because he offended Maharaj Ambarish by attacking him with this demoniac entity. And then we just heard the one recently, how Subari offended Garuda by cursing him that he couldn't take away these fish, could never come to this pond where these fish were living. And he fell down from being able to meditate underwater and became the husband of 50 princesses with a long break from his meditational practice. So here, different stories of people who offended great personalities and they had to suffer in a big way. Can you think of any others? I'm sure there's more.
Like
There's another
the son of the Kubera.
Yeah. The sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, Nalakuva. They were sporting with naked damsels of heaven, and they're completely drunk, and Narada Muni came there, and they were so drunk they didn't even bother to cover themselves in the presence of Narada.
And also Ravana in many cases.
Yeah?
No?
Well, of course he suffered from stealing Sita, right, in a big way. This whole city of Lanka was destroyed, and he was destroyed, and his brothers were destroyed except the one who took shelter of Ram. Yeah. And of course the Hiranyakashipu was he insulted Prahlad,
Yeah,
and then
that's
he was
exactly.
ripped apart by nails. We chant every day. We don't say in the local language the translation of the Nrsimha prayer, but the Tava Kara Kamala Vare Akam Adhuta Singha Dalita Hirani Kashipu Tana Ringman. So that Tava means your, Tava Kara Kamala. Kara means hands, Kamala means lotus. So your lotus hands, Tava Kara Kamala Vare. Vare comes from the word vara, which is a glorification, meaning the greatest. You know? So you're basically your great, your wonderful lotus hands. Savakar Kamala Vare. Nakam Adhuta Shingham. Naka means nails, and Adhuta means wonderful. and Shringa means pointed. So with the wonderful pointed nails and your beautiful lotus hands, Dalita, you destroy. Hiranyakashipu, Tano Brigham. Tano means body, Hiranyakashipu means Hiranyakashipu. And Brigham means like a bee. But because he's such a, usually bees are considered auspicious, so they translate it as wasp, because nobody considers wasps auspicious. They just sting, they don't give any honey, they just sting. So basically it means that the wonderfully pointed nails on your beautifully lotus hands destroy the wasp-like body of the demon Hiranyakashipu, because of his innumerable offenses against his devotee son love. So yeah, different offenses were accused there. So one reason we commit offenses, like here, they committed offenses because they accused the saintly person of doing something wrong. So we have the tendency to criticize people, but that's actually not good, because we don't have complete knowledge of a person's situation. So we don't actually have the right to criticize or someone, or to correct someone, because we don't know. Only the personality of Godhead knows everything about the person, and knows who is to be corrected and who is to be, glorified, and who is to be. He knows how to administer justice because he's omniscient. So sometimes we may criticize some saintly person, but we don't actually know. There's a verse that says, no one can understand the mind of a Vaishnava. So it may look like a Vaishnava is doing something wrong. It may look like Lord Inand is going to a liquor shop, but actually he's going to deliver the fallen souls. It's not going to get drunk. So we can't look at a devotee's situation and think bad about them. Actually, it's considered, if we can criticize a devotee for something they did before they became a devotee, or if we criticize them from some materialistic tendencies that are part of their psychophysical makeup, it's all considered aparad. And there's a heavy reaction for it. So, therefore, and the amazing thing is that Lord Chaitanya said that one can easily attain Krishna prema if he chants the holy name and doesn't blaspheme any living entity. He doesn't say he doesn't blaspheme devotees, but he says doesn't blaspheme any living entity. And there's one devotee scholar, his name's Krishna Abhishek. He has a PhD in, I'm not sure, some social science. He was giving a class, and he was saying that the first offense, blaspheming a devotee who's dedicated to propagating the holy name of the Lord, actually in the Sanskrit, it's called sadhu ninda. So it can be actually explained in a very broad way. Sadhu can be explained as a good person. Anyone who's good is actually a sadhu. Because that one of the meanings of sadhu is good. It doesn't necessarily mean Vaishnava, but it means a good person. And ninda just means to say bad things about us. So if you say bad things about a good person, you're committing sadhu ninda. So we have to try to avoid saying bad things about other people, because then we could get in trouble by criticizing somebody very dear to Krishna. And the devotees are very dear to Krishna because they're the very few people in human society that actually are trying to follow Krishna's instructions. Krishna gives these instructions in Bhagavad Gita, and they're meant for every person in human society. A very tiny number of people are executing these instructions, And those people are therefore very, very dear to Krishna because they're the only people who are taking Krishna seriously. Krishna speaks this message for every soul, and just a handful of souls are actually taking Krishna's message very seriously. So those people are very, very, very dear to Krishna. And it's through those people that Krishna is enlightening the human society. So Krishna gives all protection to those people and wants those people to be respected on the same level as himself, because they're actually representing Krishna's knowledge to human society. So they're playing the role of giving the human society the opportunity to be enlightened. So those people are very dear. So we have to try to avoid criticizing such people, or we will suffer a very negative reaction. Like the sons of Sagar lost 60,000 of them, suffered by attempting to kill a great sage and personality of God. So those are a few thoughts on this verse and purport. Anybody have any questions or comments? Experiences of spontaneous combustion in their own life? Experiences of negative reactions from offending devotees? For the Lord Chaitanya, he advises everyone to be more humble and a blade of grass. There's a nice in the Mahabharata, this Dronacharya, I believe it is. He asked Duryodhana to find someone who is greater than himself, and he asked Yudhishthira to find someone less than himself. And Yudhishthira is so humble that he can't find anyone lower than himself, which is amazing. He's an amazing king, he's an amazing religious person, he's an amazing devotee of the Lord, but he just thinks of all his faults, and he looks around and sees everyone's virtues, and he thinks, actually everyone's better than me. Whereas Duryodhana sees everyone's faults and sees only his good qualities and concludes that he's the best person. So even though Krishna was personally present during Duryodhana's time, he didn't think that Krishna was better than him, or the sages, or the great devotees. He thought he was the absolute best person. So, Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
So, we're having a little class till 9 o'clock, and then we have prasadam, and you're welcome to stay.
Okay.
If you have to go early.
I have to go to work.
What's that?
I have to go to work.
Yeah. You can, maybe Prabhuji wants to get you something, if you're so fortunate. Otherwise, you can ask in the kitchen. So, let's see. So, were you able to find some prasadam for him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very good. So, Duryodhana, who had such a high opinion of himself, he couldn't find anyone greater than himself, although Krishna was present. Krishna who had lifted Govardhan Hill, Krishna who had killed Kamsa. So, because he would just find faults with people and he would just find good qualities himself. So the strategy for becoming humble is to meditate on your own bad qualities and to meditate on the good qualities of others. So the Lord Chaitanya says, Amanina manadena. So, Amanina manadena. Manina means one shouldn't demand respect for himself. Manadena means he should give respect to us. And if we do that, then we will have a nice, humble attitude, and we won't commit offenses, because we'll think, actually, who am I? I have so many bad qualities. Who am I to criticize this person? And if we think like that, then we won't commit these aparadhs. So Lord Chaitanya is very mercifully instructing us how we can avoid becoming so proud that we commit all these aparadhs in that verse. Not peacefully chant for a peace of Vishnu, Amanina, Kirtana. Let me read the purport again. Sometimes we think of other things that are relevant. The next verse deals with some people saying that Kapila killed him by radiating fire from his eyes. That's not actually the case. It was just the instant karma from your serious aparadh. And that's another thing. If somebody commits a really big offense, the reaction can be very immediate. So,
Indra will not get any reaction here. I think Indra also get the reaction here.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully we'll find out what that is. So Indra himself, he offended his guru, Prahaspati, and he needed another guru to perform a sacrifice. So he got, what's his name? Twasta. Yeah, he got Twasta to act as a guru to perform the sacrifice, but Twasta, although he was, Twasta had a mixed background. He had some relatives who were demons and some relatives who were devotees. So because he was partial to the demons, he would also, in the course of performing the sacrifice, he would also offer oblations for the benefit of the demons. So this got Indra upset, so he actually killed him. So that he had to suffer an offense from blaspheming his guru, and then he had to suffer the offense for killing this Brahmana he engaged in the sacrifice. So he had to suffer severely. At one point he had to hide in the filaments of a lotus for many, many years. So nobody, no matter how great they are, can get away from the reaction. Like Indra is a very powerful personality, but he couldn't get away from the reaction from offending his guru or from killing his priest, which were serious aparadhs. So the thing is that the pride is so powerful that even somebody's in a very high position like Indra, a position you get to by only performing good activities, in mode of passion, because in the heavenly planets it's not pure goodness. The mode of passion comes in and causes people to be proud, and then they commit offenses, causes them to fall down. But if we act according to the directions of our guru, or according to the directions of the Shastra, and according to the directions of the sadhus, then we won't commit anything, we won't do anything wrong, and then we won't have to suffer these reactions. So there's a nice verse that goes, Yashastram vidam utraja ardate kamakarta nasasiddham apnoti nasukhanat brahmati. One abandons the injunctions of the Shastra and acts according to his own whim, he attains neither nasasiddham, he doesn't attain perfection, nasasiddham apnoti nasukam, he doesn't attain happiness, not paramhitam, he doesn't attain the supreme destination. So that's the big problem in this age. People don't actually follow the scriptures. People think they can do whatever they want. and because they think they can do it whatever they want, they commit great offenses against great personalities, and they have to suffer so many actions. But it's all because of thinking that they don't have to follow the advice of the personality. Yes?
And how can we consider this suffering as like the mercy of Krishna or like a punishment?
Well, Krishna says that this world is Kalyana Shashvatam, a place of misery and temporary, so that some people, when they see suffering as evidence that there's no God, because why would God allow suffering in this world? But we don't see it that way. We see it, well, Krishna says the world is full of suffering, and what do you know? I'm encountering the suffering. Krishna's right. This is evidence. There's a story, it's an amazing story. There was a festival, and the devotees were advertising the festival, so they're putting up posters in different places, Hare Krishna festival, whatever it was, you know. And there were some other people who were advertising their festival. So they ripped down the other people's posters and they put up theirs. You know? But the other people, they saw the devotees ripping off the posters and they're really upset.
Oh.
So they beat up the devotees for ripping down their posters. And there was two devotees. There was a devotee who'd been around for many years, and then there was a new devotee, a Bhakta so-and-so. And they had different reactions. The person who'd been a devotee for many years thought, I've been doing so much devotional service, and Krishna let this happen to me. Okay? So he actually lost faith, you know. And the Bhakta said, well, you know, Krishna describes the material world as a very miserable place, and what do you know? We're doing this good deed, advertising our festival, and these nasty people beat us up. So he retained his faith because he saw it as evidence of the world being the miserable place that Krishna describes. And the other person thought he should be treated better by Krishna, so he lost faith. And then there's a story. Have you heard of the devotee named Vyasaki? Vyasaki is a very famous Hare Krishna singer. There's many videos of him chanting. Very famous. He's been here actually. Vyasaki to Paris. So many like devotees have left their position in devotional service. So he interviewed many devotees, like I don't know, 50 or 100 devotees who left, and to try to figure out why people left. And there's one very famous verse. Tatenu kampam shukshamikshana mano undai kapam kutam vipakam vagapurvir vividam tamishva kalida vipakam. I will look it up. Fortunately, I can remember the number. That's the only part I can remember. Jani Rama Kritam Vipakam Vivagapurvir Vividanamaste Jivete Yomukti Pade Saptayabam. So that means, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become its rightful claim. So we found that in all the cases of the people who left, they couldn't accept the suffering as being a reaction of their past deeds, and still think good things about Krishna and offer obeisances to Krishna and worship Krishna. Actually, it's said that because we're engaged in devotional service, our suffering is actually decreasing. There's a nice verse. There's a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita 250. 250. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukriti duskrite tasmad yoga yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam. And that means a man engaged in devotional service who rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So actually, when we suffer, we're actually suffering less than we're supposed to suffer, because devotional service is purifying. You know, they say like maybe you cut your finger and you should have lost your arm or something. So it's actually minimized. So the devotee is thankful that his karma is being minimized, that we should have suffered because we're in the material world, we did bad things in the past, so we deserve to suffer. But because we're engaged in devotional service, this is being minimized. So, but the suffering is reminding us that the material world is a bad place, and Krishna doesn't want us to be here, but Krishna wants us to get out. So basically we should see suffering as Krishna reminding us that this isn't our real home. In our real home, the spiritual world, we don't suffer. So we should become more enthusiastic to get out of the material world when we encounter suffering. Because the more enthusiastic we are to get out of the material world, the sooner we'll get out of the material world. Because enthusiasm is the first of the 6 important items in the devotional service. The Rupa Goswami says there's 6 things favorable for discharging devotional service, and the first one is enthusiasm. So the more we realize that this material world is a miserable place, the more we'll be enthusiastic to get out. We'll chant Hare Krishna very seriously, and we'll try to avoid the offenses, and we'll try to be attentive, and we'll try to be respectful to devotees. We'll try to do the practice very nicely if we're enthusiastic to get out of the material world. So we should see that suffering is, it's inevitable in the material world that there's suffering. Our suffering is being reduced because we're engaged in devotional service. Like the suffering still comes because Krishna wants us to remember that the material world is a bad place. And some great devotees suffered a lot more than we do. This is 250 Bhagavad Gita. It's about how we become free from the karma. And the other verse, the famous one, is that about tolerating the inconvenience. That's 10:14:8, spoken by Brahma, very famous verse. So we're always getting less suffering than we would if we weren't doing devotional service. But we can't expect, as long as we're in the material world, we can't expect that there won't be any suffering. But there's only one way to not suffer in the material world, and that's to attain Krishna prema. Because in the Nectar devotion, there's a quote where Lord Shiva tells Sati, his wife, Parvati, that a person who's attained Krishna prema, he doesn't experience the happiness and distress associated with material body. He's so much in love with Krishna. He's just experiencing Krishna's blissful association, and he doesn't even feel the pain in the body. It's described that when Srila Prabhupada was at the end of his life, he was so thin and his skin was touching his bones, and the doctor said any ordinary person in that condition, it would be so painful that they couldn't function, they couldn't deal with the pain. But Prabhupada was just completely aloof from it. Just completely absorbed in his standard Krishna consciousness, unaffected. That's the only completely painless place is when our consciousness is so absorbed in Krishna we don't even experience material existence. And that is gradually attained by practicing devotion. So it's 9:03, as my computer is telling me. So we can end the class. Thank you for your kind attention. Divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai! This is Krishna Prabhu ki Jai!
Bhagavatam ki Samaveda Bhaktivedanta ki
Jai!
Mahaprasad.
Jai! Jai!
So how do I stop sharing it so people don't watch all my YouTube videos?